What's up guys, I'm Eric Lee and you're watching Savage Garden, and today I'm going to go over my tips and techniques so you can have a successful harvest in your container garden. Check it out. Okay, so we're back. One thing I want to talk about, in addition to the custom potting mix that we put together for these containers, is things I like to add when I'm growing vegetables and fruit. One thing I really like to add is blood meal. Now, blood meal is a good resource, or a good source for you to get nitrogen in those plants. What that's going to do is it's going to encourage root development, so you can really have really strong plants. And the next thing I like to add is bone meal. Now, bone meal is going to help with the phosphate and calcium. These are things that are going to do a real good job when it comes to your flowers blooming and your fruit developing and vegetables developing. So combined, I like to add these to my buckets. So right now I have that mix, that container mix from earlier that we made in the last video. If you haven't seen it, go back and check that video out. As you can see right now, the potting mix is really dry. So what I like to do while it's still dry is I add about 3 tablespoons of blood meal to this. You know, if you add a little more, you just eyeball it, just like Big Mama in the kitchen. Just eyeball it for now. I mean, unless, you know, you're doing a lot of plants, then if you got something, a tablespoon out there, you know, 3 of them will make the job done. But I'd like to just add that in here now. And this stuff gets a little slow release. So normally it takes about 4 months for this to be completely useful. But what I like to do is I like to water it in, and they'll get you about maybe 10, 20, 30% of it right off the bat into this soil, which will help for that good root development. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to water this in, and I like to really flood it the first water. That's going to give me a good chance for that peat moss to start taking on the water, and really making sure my buckets and containers are really moist and holding a lot of water, and really set up for when I go to put the plants in. So I want you to come look at this right now. So as you can see, normally this is what I want it to look like, is I want you to flood that. Just flood it really nice and good till you have about maybe 1 inch, 2 inch of water sitting. Now what this is going to do is, like I said, it's going to go all the way down, drain out the bottom, and it's going to allow for this potting mix to be nice and really moist. So when you add your plants, you don't have to do a lot of water right away. So as you can see, it's absorbed a lot of that water right away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this like 10 to 15 minutes for this water to go all the way through the bucket, and then I'm going to add my plants. So I have a few more buckets I need to add water to, and blood meal and bone meal, and then I'll come back to this. See you in a little bit. Okay guys, so we waited 15 minutes and really let that blood meal, bone meal, and that new container soil really soak up all that fluid, all that water, and I'm going to show you what it looks like now. The pot has dropped from where it was maybe 2-3 inches from the top. It's compressed a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to add back to it just a little bit this nice dry soil. We want to get it back up to that 3 inch zone. That's going to be that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little hole in here. I normally do it by hand to kind of see where I'm going to put my plant. And for today, we're going to be planting tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, and that's about as far as I like to get. Maybe to here. You know, I got pretty big hands. I'm going to add the plant in the middle, and then we're going to collapse it. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, now that I have my little hole, what I like to do is add another 3 tablespoons of that bone meal and that blood meal inside. And then I add in my vegetable. This one's going to be pear heirloom cherry tomatoes. So I mean, or it's going to be yellow pear heirloom cherry tomatoes. So yeah, I was right. Okay, so really get in there, compress it, and we're going to collapse this soil right around the size of it. We're going to have to bring this topsoil back up to cover it more to we're about 1 inch from the top, because I'm gonna water this in, and like last time, it's gonna collapse, and we're gonna end up maybe 2-3 inches from the top. So just like always, we're gonna water it in until we have stagnant water. That water is gonna rest up top, and we don't have to add a lot of water on this go because we filled it almost 90% of the way. As you can see, all the air bubbles. So if we hadn't watered it in, these air bubbles or these air pockets would actually kill the roots down below. So I'm gonna add more water since I see air bubbles still popping. But that's pretty much as simple as it goes. Now that I have this watered in, this plant centered and watered in, normally I would add stakes, but I was unable to find some. I'm gonna just go ahead and put the cage on top of this, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the cage on top of this plant and make sure that I put the marker letting everyone know what it is. And that's gonna be just on the side. And as simple as that, this is done. It takes a while for the tomatoes to really produce a lot of fruit, but once they get started, they take off like really fast. And in Texas, the weather is really good right now. So we look forward to having these tomatoes. I'm gonna keep you guys updated on how we do it and how this planting is going. But it's simple, just like that for almost every fruit and vegetable we do. And that's gonna be it pretty much for this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you liking the videos that I'm putting out. I'm Eric Lee, you're watching Savage Garden, and we're out.